Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is Meditation and Mindfulness with Rabbi Adam Kligfeld.
Good morning for those who are here in my office in Los Angeles. Hello to those who are joining via Zoom. Hello to anyone who is watching this live on Facebook, on my profile or the Temple Beth Am's page. And hello to anyone who's listening to this asynchronously at the Temple Beth Am podcast. We're here for some morning moments of reflection and peace, and maybe even a little bit of inspiration about something we should be focusing on today, right? For the 100th or 200th and 300th time, if we over-expect a meditation to deliver on a particular idea, we're probably abusing the concept of meditation. It actually should be mostly about emptying our ideas from our minds and allowing the emptiness to do its own work. And yet sometimes an overlay can refocus after the emptying. We're making our way through the Omer, and a lot of my meditations during the Omer have been focused on not just the week of the Omer that we're in, but the day of the Omer we're in. For the second week in a row, I'm really just going to focus on the week, not the day. Partly because since this, as I've said before, since we're always doing this on Friday, the same day of that week, we're having the same subset each week we do this. The week of the Omer we're in is Hod. And as I mentioned before, just a daily minyan, Hod is a really interesting phrase or word, particularly trying to figure out the connection between the standard translation and the Kabbalistic understanding. And there are several words in the Kabbalah and in the Sfirot that don't seem to match up one-to-one if you know a bit of Hebrew, even liturgical Hebrew. Hod, like in the book of Psalms, Hod v'hadar lavashta. We say that God, you are cloaked, lavashta, clothing, in Hod v'hadar, glory and splendor. Has to do with beauty, has to do with majesty, has to do with radiance. It's a way of complementing or describing a certain wonder, right? It's not at all what that means in the Sfirot. The Sfirah, the emanation of God that we're supposed to see in the world, bring out in the world, and then try to emulate in the world, is, as I mentioned before, one of yielding, of humility. It's almost the opposite. It's not quite, but it's almost the opposite, because you can imagine, right, like Hod being a certain spiritual ostentatiousness. Right? Like I am robed in my beautiful talit, and and there is energy radiating out of me. Look, everyone, look at my Hod. Right? If God is radiating Hod, we're supposed to notice it in the biblical sense of the word. But Hod Kabbalistically is, I'm in the background, and I'm humble, and I'm kind of yielding to what is. I'm not driving the moment. I am giving in to the moment. I'm not nearly enough of a Kabbalah scholar, and there's no false humility there, to understand why it's the case, why it's truly the case. What's the history of the intellectual meaning of those words? Why the Kabbalists understood Hod to mean something different than they knew it meant in the Bible. But I can offer a nice drash, right? That sometimes we think that what is most worthy of splendor or most exhibits splendor is grandness. And sometimes maybe the most beautiful thing to do in the world and in the presence of someone else and the presence of a hard circumstance is to yield. Even saying the words unconsciously, I'm thinking about situations that might be asking me to yield. I don't want to yield. I want to put myself out there. I know how to handle something. I want to fill up the space with the other kind of Hod. And maybe Kabbalistically, we're supposed to understand that there's a part of the world that God's whole Hod is exhibited in letting us be human, and that we're supposed to live Hod by actually letting God be God and not forcing God or our expectations of God into what we think we need in that moment. So with that in mind, and Alan, is there a way to turn off those notifications so they don't come, or turn off the phone just so that we don't get interrupted with that in the middle of it? With that in mind, if you haven't already, I invite you to close your eyes. And we'll spend a few moments in the realm of no ideas, just sinking into the wonder of this moment. Feel yourself re-inhabiting your body, the certain spiritual awareness, replacing automatic functions with intentionality. Take deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let every muscle that can relax, be slack, and be heavy and unactivated, except for your spine, which is straight and noble, and doing all the work of keeping you in your position. You may want to create a certain spatial awareness that went away for a second when you closed your eyes, but you can recreate it. Picture that you're like one of those 360 cameras on the new cars, where you're in the car, you are the car, and you're also seeing the car exactly where it is. Be yourself and see yourself where you are, in whatever chair you find yourself, in whatever room you find yourself. If you're not alone next to whatever person or people with whom you're sharing this experience. And watch yourself there. Watch yourself as you are also yourself, sitting in stillness, needing nothing other than this moment. For throughout this moment, there's nothing to see, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to want. There's nothing to see, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to want. If a thought comes into your mind, and it will, even if you didn't ask for it to come, just look at it for a second, consider it, and release it. Until the next one inevitably follows, and you repeat the pattern. And if you want help keeping your mind as empty as you can, focus on every aspect of breathing. In through the nose and out through the mouth. What it feels like as the air passes your nostrils, travels through your cavities. It's almost as if you have a hyper-awareness of that oxygen going into your lungs and instantly reaching every cell that needs it. A miraculous process. Feel what it's like to expel the air formed by your body, given to the world. Back to your breathing. Back to your breathing. And if you want, you can think about Hod. See the word in your mind's eye written out in English letters H-O-D, or Hebrew letters Hey Vav Daled. And see if your mind can draw a map connecting biblical and rabbinic Hod with Kabbalah Hod. Splendor, majesty, glory, beauty on the one hand, and yielding, giving in, accepting, willing to be less rather than more. At what point in your characterological map do those two Hods meet? Where do they dance together and they all of a sudden mean the same thing? In what circumstance? In what relationship is yielding the biggest and most beautiful way to be? Is accepting and pulling back the most majestic thing you could do? Hod, dancing with Hod. Hod, refining Hod. Hod, informing Hod. The beauty of yielding. The splendor of relinquishing. Hod lavashta. Put on that spiritual outfit as you walk through these moments, this day, and this week. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. We'll say the closing meditation prayer together. 3 times. May we and all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. May we and all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. May we and all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. I say to you all, Shalom, Namaste, Shabbat Shalom. Have a good day, everyone.
You have been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.